Tell us briefly, if you can, about what happened to you.
In 2015, I woke up cold and naked in a hotel bed next to a man I'd never seen before. And my last memory before that had been more than 5 hours before having lunch in a local restaurant. The police were called immediately. And I thought it would happen like on TV, where the police are there and you're safe. And everything would go forward the way it's supposed to. There would be an investigation, and he'd be charged, and it would go in front of a jury. And I had no idea that that's just not what happens.
And why did it not happen?
And there's a lot of reasons. Fundamentally, we don't prosecute enough rapes in this country. We take a too conservative approach in a lot of ways. And in my case, it was just a combination of everything. I made mistake after mistake, mostly by not being perfect and being a deeply traumatized rape victim.
So what was your mistake after mistake? Were you having lunch with this person? Did you know them? Did you drink too much? What were the mistakes?
The first mistake is that my friend called the police and I didn't. So instantly I was attention-seeking or doing it wrong or having been caught out on cheating on a boyfriend I didn't have. And then the next mistake was I had a hyperventilating panic attack. So again, seeking attention and acting over the top. I was demanding. I wanted to know what was happening. I was difficult because I refused to give them my clothes for evidence because they wouldn't give me anything else to wear. And they actually wrote down in their notebooks on the night that I was raped that I was being difficult because I didn't have an extra pair of clothes on me for them to take mine.
So, I mean, when you were told by the CPS that they weren't going to bring any charges against your attacker, many people would have accepted that that was just a fact of the matter. They'd have felt very let down, but they would have left it there, wouldn't they? Why did you sort of feel the need to keep going, and how did you persuade the CPS to change their mind?
I think it started because I didn't know what happened to me. So the last thing I remember is having lunch with my dad in a local restaurant. And then all of a sudden, I'm somewhere else next to somebody I've never seen before, completely terrified and having no idea what's happened. And nobody ever told me. And I had all of these gaps and I didn't know what was happening. So for a long time, I was asking the police to fill in the gaps for me. And I asked for the toxicology report, which they kept not giving me. And then nearly a year after I was attacked, I got the toxicology report. And I don't know what it was that I was looking for, but what I found was horrifying, because that's the first time I found out that my attacker was completely sober, and in possession of illegal drugs that he said were Viagra and LSD, but were never actually tested. And for me, it was in that moment that I realized, wait, actually, the system has failed me. There is something that's gone terribly wrong, because up until that point, until I started to piece things together, I thought this was my fault.
So had you been drugged, had you been taken advantage of, and this was what you didn't remember, this is where the time loss was, and the police just either didn't want to pursue it or it was a bit too difficult to prove?
Yeah, I think what's really hard is when it comes down to a consent case, we have the idea that it's really difficult to prove. My case is a little bit different because my suspect, in his interview given under caution, admits that the first thing he asked me was whether or not I was on drugs because I was acting in an incoherent way. He told the police that he thought I might be a bit mad or mentally ill because I wasn't making sense. There's CCTV of me literally falling over in front of the hotel room door. Also CCTV of me walking down the street so intoxicated that I basically can't move my arms.
So was this done to you, or had you got yourself this drunk?
I don't know. So there is the idea is that I suspect that there was a drink at the restaurant that was spiked. And the reason that I think that is my dad took a sip of that, and he doesn't remember getting home to Ireland. And my dad can hold his liquor. A sip of grappa was not going to knock him over. But for however I got into that state, a reasonable person would have known I couldn't have given consent and shouldn't have taken advantage.
But your attacker has been brought to justice now because of your persistence, and then you've now become an advisor to the government. How did that come about?
It's a little bit odd. I kind of just asked. I'd been doing all of this work. So in my public advocacy and trying to talk to people like you two and talking to journalists and politicians and working to change the law on voyeurism, I had to do a lot of research. And I had to know my stuff in order to open those doors. And over COVID, like a lot of people, I had a lot more time on my hands than usual. And so I started writing the book, and I didn't even really know what for. But as I kept going through it, I realized I know a lot about this. And so when I read that number 10 was really unhappy about the fall in rape prosecutions, I went to a contact, to go to a contact, to go to a contact, to ask to go in the door at number 10. And I had a conversation that I thought would be first and last.
What an incredible journey, and hopefully something positive has come out of something so horrific.
Just tell us very quickly about the book. You know,
So it's called We Need to Talk. It's available on Amazon and in some Waterstones and kind of everywhere, which is crazy and terrifying. But it's not just my story. It's about what we need to do better as a society to support rape victims so that people don't go through what I went through.
Well, Emily, you're a terrific inspiration to lots of people. I'm very pleased to know you. I think you're an amazing woman.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you for the hope that you give to other people as well and victims. And we wish you every success with the book.
Thank you so much.
And for your sheer tenacity,
Absolutely
if I'm being
amazing,
honest.
remarkable.